So I wanted to clarify something that I brought up in a previous video, or I wanted to expand upon it, because I think it completely left out the answer to sort of a question. I sort of posed a question, or suggested something, and I didn't fulfill you with the answer. One of the last videos I posted was a video that I posted to previously to another YouTube channel I have for a cult that I'm investigating. And I posted it as sort of a proof that I had issues with the job. I was working at Cedar Island Ranch well before I was fired, or thought I was going to be fired. Weeks and weeks before that video was posted, about a month before. So something I brought up, I mentioned in that video, and I think it's worth touching upon again. It's worth completing that thought, even outside of the arena of condemning David Saint Singh and the owners and managers of Cedar Island Ranch and High Point Resort in North Carolina. So I started talking about the difference between Captain Kirk and Spock in Star Trek. And I made the point that Spock essentially represents intellect, almost pure intellect, divorced from empathy, but really not cognitive empathy, but more affective empathy. There's two kinds of empathy. Cognitive empathy is the ability to think through a person's life, think through how they got to where they are, think through a situation, and on some level understand how they must feel, on some level understand the stresses they're under, certain emotions they're probably having, but also like to think through, well, this probably happened and then they probably did this as a result, likely, and then this probably happened and then they probably reacted in this way. Like, so that would be cognitive empathy, different examples of cognitive empathy. Affective empathy is something not everyone has, or not everyone has an abundance of. Psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists, severely personality disordered people, when said that they're low in empathy, they're actually, the meaning is actually that they're low in affective empathy, because they can be quite high in cognitive empathy. Affective empathy is like when you see someone get hurt and you can almost feel it, and you're like, oh, if you like see someone get hit on the head with a ball or a bat or something, you're like, ooh, and you almost like go to rub that spot. You weren't hit, but you can feel almost the shadows, the echoes of the pain, the blow in your own body in the same spot where you saw a person get hurt. That's affective empathy. Or you know, someone you could actually, and it's not necessarily empathizing with pain or bad things. Sometimes you can empathize with joy. You can empathize with sorrow. You can empathize with anxiety, depression, to the point of where you see someone who's really anxious and nervous, and it makes you kind of anxious and nervous. Or you see someone who's really joyful, and even if you're like super depressed and you're having a shit day, but you see like a really like sweet, touching moment and you're just like, and you like, or like happen to someone else, and you can almost like feel how you feel how they must feel, how they feel, not must feel. You have that connection. That's affective empathy. So, and then cognitive empathy is a different kind of empathy. There are experts out there that actually claim there's no such thing as affective empathy, or they don't like to differentiate, which makes me think those experts don't have affective empathy. Because I certainly know that there is such a thing as affective empathy, because I feel it. I also see the telltale signs of it, the evidence of it. I've witnessed people who have witnessed someone else getting hurt, and they go, oh, I felt that. So you can see the evidence of affective empathy, but if you have a good amount of proper affective empathy, then you should absolutely know exactly what I'm talking about. But you should also understand that there are people out there who have no idea what you're talking about or what I'm talking about. That's actually a great way to suss out if you're dealing with someone who's severely personality disordered, cluster B personality disordered, if they are a psychopath or a sociopath or a malignant narcissist. Sit down with them and watch a violent movie. Make sure, first of all, that the movie establishes a connection with a character. And try to make sure it's a good guy, because not everybody's... Even I affectively empathize with bad guys when they get hurt. As much as I might hate them and want them to get hurt, when I see the actual blow, even then I'm like... Because I've seen that, like, I've seen that in, like, Hannibal... like the Hannibal Lecter movie, when like he goes and like slices open the throat of this one bounty hunter guy who's trying to capture him in Italy. Where was it? Florence. They're both bad guys. There's no good guy in that situation. But still, every time I even think about the scene, I'm like, I go to protect my neck, my throat. That's affective empathy. I can almost feel the slit. Even like pulling up a memory of someone getting hurt can cause you to can trigger your affective empathy. It just depends on how deeply you empathize with people. So sit down and watch a movie like that, something like that, with a person if you want to suss out whether or not they have a healthy amount of empathy, particularly affective empathy. And that's important to have, particularly for mothers, caretakers to children. You really want them to have an abundance of affective empathy, because that is what that's what motivates a mom to get up off her butt and change her baby's diaper. Like sometimes every 5 minutes. Sometimes literally you're in the process of putting on the new diaper. You've just taken off the old diaper and the baby poops in the new diaper, right? Like you have to do it all over again. That's healthy amounts of affective empathy is what makes it so that mothers don't go, you know what, wallow in it. Wallow in your own shit and piss. I'm not doing this anymore. Because they can, I know that's what motivated me to change my niece's diapers day in, day out, all day long, till she was potty trained, was just the very thought in my imagination of her wallowing in her own feces and it becoming cold and raw and it hurting her skin and boils and sores and infection and just the uncomfortableness she must be feeling. Didn't matter how tired I was. It's time to change the baby's diaper. Just my feeling of discomfort that I know she must be feeling. I'm not actually feeling it, but I am sort of feeling it because I know she must be feeling it. It didn't matter how tired I was. That's what motivated me to get up off my butt. Oh, I dropped my cigarette. And change the diaper again because I felt uncomfortable too. Like you wouldn't be able to most people wouldn't be able to, I would think, fall asleep in their own soiled clothes unless they're really drunk. Right, so you'd feel compelled to get up and change yourself and get clean before you laid down to go to sleep or laid back down to go to sleep, wouldn't you? Yeah. So that's why we want mothers to have a really healthy amount of affective empathy. It's not enough just to have cognitive empathy. Spock versus Kirk. So let's get back on the ball, cat. So Spock, again, stands for intellect divorced from affective empathy, gut instinct, really from a lot of emotions, too. Just on damn near pure intellect. He follows the rules all the time, to the letter. He does not break from the rules and the laws. He remembers everything, though. He like, that's one good thing, is you can kind of look to him as like a archive memory bank. Like, yo, Spock, tell me the digs on this, the ins and outs on this whole situation. You always know everything, but you always know you got the book smarts, right? So how is that different from Kirk? Kirk is gut instinct and affective empathy, but also cognitive empathy. I think he's a bit more on the affective empathy side. He's gut instinct. And you could maybe make I don't know that he's heart. Some people would say he's heart, but he's got instinct. in the previous video, I mentioned that I think it was Socrates who claimed, it was one of those ancient Greek philosophers, who claimed that he had this voice inside of him that he always listened to. And he attributed all of his successes and experiences and wisdoms to this voice. And he said that the voice never told him what to do. It only ever told him what not to do. I'm fairly certain he was talking about his gut. Because if you think about it, those of you who have this, your gut is what sounds the alarm when you're doing something wrong, or when you're in a dangerous situation that isn't necessarily readily apparent on the surface. So like the wolves are circling, but you don't see it with your eyes and your conscious mind, but your gut knows. Like your gut, you're constantly taking in all kinds of stimuli all the time, and your subconscious mind, which is like your gut, your instinct, is absorbing all of it and storing all of it and making calculations based on all of that stimuli and that information. Your conscious mind is doing this as well, but your conscious mind can't do it nearly as well as your subconscious mind. It's not as fast. It's kind of stunted. So your gut instinct is sort of your subconscious mind screaming at your conscious mind, wake up, wake up, wake up. We got trouble, 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 trouble. That's sort of how it speaks. It's, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger. I'm seeing the wolves circling. I know you don't see it up there, dum-dum, but I'm smarter than you. They say that our gut is sort of a whole other brain. Look into it. Some say it's like it's the original brain. They say that starts forming before this one. So yeah, the gut would represent, so that's sort of, it's your conscience. It's also telling you, don't do this. This is wrong. It's almost like it warns you when you're about to do something that can't be undone, or you're about to lose something that you can't get back. So it's always saying, no, 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 don't do this, like mom. No, 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 it's the negative. This is positive. Your gut's negative. So the point I wanted to make that I sort of left trailing, and I didn't give you guys this, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that. I'm just giving you guys gold nuggets left, right, and center. Just wisdom on top of wisdom on top of wisdom. You're welcome. Hey, anyone want to pay me for some of this wisdom? I could use some food and some gas money. Hey, so anyway, I made the point that Spock is compartmentalized, intellect compartmentalized, extremely compartmentalized from our gut instinct and our affective empathy. And then there's a reason why Kirk is the captain and not Spock. Because you lose something when you extremely compartmentalize your intellect from your empathy and your gut instinct. You lose something in that compartmentalization, and that's the thing that makes Kirk the captain. One of the things that I didn't mention, I forgot to mention, at least one of the things you lose is courage. Why? Because you can't have courage without fear. You can't be brave unless you feel afraid first, and then you face your fear and do whatever it is that's making you afraid to begin with. If you're so compartmentalized from your immediate surroundings, let's say you're working in a dangerous situation. Let's say you're working in a barn taking care of horses. And let's say you're not a fool or 2-year-old who doesn't understand how dangerous certain things can be, certain animals. And you're well aware that at any moment, things happen. Things can go wrong. You could be in the stall mucking the poop out of the stall for the horse, and a bird flutters in front of its face, and it freaks out and kicks the shit out of you. And now you're dead. Or seriously, seriously injured. So some people, but let's say you love this job and you want to work it, you want to keep it. So you got to get over that fear to some degree and just get on with it and do the job, right? So some people might be tempted in order to do that, to compartmentalize themselves away from the immediate danger in their current circumstances. So they might walk into that barn and just pretend that that's not what's going on, that they're not walking into a dangerous situation. They might divorce themselves almost completely from the danger of their surroundings. Here's the problem with that. There's no bravery. Now they're not facing their fears. Instead of facing down their fears, they're eliminating the fear altogether by not allowing themselves to acknowledge the danger and detaching from the reality of the danger in their immediate circumstances. There's no more bravery there. Now they've lost bravery. They might be getting on with it. They might be surviving. This is also the thing with people who, it's not enough just to have gut instinct. That's why it's not enough just to have intellect. Okay, you need the gut instinct, but it's also not enough to just have gut instinct, because there are people out there who have great gut instincts, but they have no bravery. And so they'll feel the tingles. They'll feel the spidey tingles. They'll feel their gut telling them something's wrong. Danger, danger, danger. And they'll just get on out of there. They won't stick around to see what the problem is. They'll just go. Sometimes I wish I was that smart. Really, for me, it's more of a curiosity thing. Curiosity in the cat. You know how that goes. My gut instincts are fairly good, and they do go off at times when they should be. I learn that quite often afterwards. Because I know, I feel them, I acknowledge them. I go, I know you're going off. I know there's something going on. Otherwise you wouldn't be losing your shit. And a smart me, or I guess like a more survival-minded me, would be like, let's just go. Let's just get out of here. Let's jam. Let's get out of this situation, or end this situation, or whatever. The curious side of me is like, let's see what is making my gut go off. Like, I want to see how this plays out, goes down. Hopefully it doesn't get me killed. Hopefully I'm not dead at the end of this, but there's something to be learned. There's information and wisdom to be gleaned from the bravery to stick around and figure out what is bothering Kirk. Why is Kirk losing his shit? And then that informs your intellect. And then you have wisdom. So bravery is a big, big, big part of it. You need bravery. You'll lose it if you compartmentalize too much. Your intellect from your gut instinct. If you go too much one side or the other, you're going to lose the bravery. So yeah. So there's that. I'm trying to remember if there's something else I wanted to add in there. I'm braver than all of you, most of you, and you know it, don't you? I'm Captain Kirk, bitches. Take a back seat. So yeah, I was saying, like, my default is not intellect, separate, divorced entirely from my gut instinct and my empathy and my affective empathy. That's another thing. That's the thing. One of the things that makes Kirk so brave. Kirk's known for being brave. If you can give Kirk one thing, he's super freaking brave. He's the one who will dash into the fray and save the people who are like a moment away from death. When Spock's going like, this isn't in the rule books, you know, like, that's what makes Kirk the hero. And he wouldn't do that if he didn't have that affective empathy, if he didn't see the people suffering or about to suffer and know exactly what's coming their way. Oh, the lava flow is coming towards the baby. Oh my gosh, it's gonna suck when the baby burns to death in the lava flow. I think I should Tarzan myself down there on a vine and scoop him up. And that's what makes Kirk do that shit in no small way, is he's got a good amount of affective empathy. Now, a Spock-minded person might be like, he's an idiot. But it's really a matter of, like, is he intelligent enough to understand how badly he could be hurt? Yeah, well, he's doing it anyway because the affective empathy he has is stronger than that. That's brave. Okay? Now, if he weren't intelligent or experienced enough to understand that he could very likely fall into the lava flow and burn up himself and die, and he swings down there to scoop up the kid, you could say it's not necessarily so much bravery, it's just ignorance and stupidity, I guess, and could maybe make that argument. Like a 2-year-old running into the ocean. I'm from the Jersey Shore. As soon as the kids in our family start walking, we start teaching them how to swim, because there's lots of beach days, and for some reason, like, lots and lots of 2-year-olds, as soon as they see the ocean, like any kid that can just, when they start getting steady on their feet and they can work up some speed and run, it's like as soon as they see the ocean, they're just like, I'm coming home, mama. They just take off running for it. Unless you can hurl your fat ass right after them fast enough to catch them, then you might want to make sure they have some basic swimming instincts, which they actually do. Well, babies and toddlers, like, typically, like, instinctively take on certain positions if they fall into water. Anyway, was there something else? I'm leaving out something else, but I don't want to make this too long. Courage, bitches. Courage. There's a reason why Kirk is the captain. Don't be a little bitch. Don't be a little bitch. Pusses. Did you see the last video where I said that David Singh is a puss? Now you know why. Now you know why. He is. He's a giant puss. I got bigger balls than him. Doo-da, doo-da. And there's a nice gap between my thighs, though. And my balls are all up inside of my body, like, and they're still bigger than David Saint's. Because, like, for any of you who don't know, the ovaries descend into testes in utero, and that's how we get males. They start off with the bodies of females, at least the bodies of females, and at some point in utero, the clitoris elongates and the testes descend, or the ovaries descend into testes, and clitoris elongates into a phallus. And so, that's another thing, males, just in case you didn't know, you all started off as girls. Bye. Have a good night. Toodles.